Since 1982, you have served on the board of the Getty Center for Education in the Arts. Stephen Dobbs has met you at the Getty Center, and he notes that you love language as well as art. You love vocabulary, and your vocabulary rivals that of the Oxford English Dictionary. You don't just use words, you feel them. You taste and savor their qualities as they roll off of your pen and your tongue. You employ language to make fine-grained distinctions that we talked about before. How else to explain your tossing off such hardies as isomorphic, noetic, recondite, ubiquitous, and the inimitable feckless? I must add that I had to look up some of those words before coming to interview you today. Why the love of words in addition to the love of art?
Getting the right word to fit the right slot in an expression is what you have to work with. The tempo of language over time, in the course of a paragraph or a short story, how it moves the reader. And the reader here is not only text written, but it's, quote, text, unquote, seen. I like the way words sound. But I don't have the vocabulary of the Oxford. I'd be terribly confused if I did.
In 2002, you wrote the book, The Arts and the Creation of Mind. Here you discuss DBAE, Discipline-Based Art Education. Tell us about what this is.
The basic idea was to build a curriculum from what people do with art. Well, they make it, for example. They sell it. They use it to enhance their life. They learn to see through it. Those are roughly some of the. So if you're building a curriculum, you say, well, what do we pay attention to in this curriculum? Well, we can pay attention to these 5 forces, and here they are. And then once they're identified, then the question is, well, what kinds of activities are going to be interesting for kids to work with within this framework?
In your book, Qualitative Inquiry in Education in 1990, you discuss the increasingly important role of qualitative research in the field of education. Talk about your research in terms of educational research and qualitative research specifically.
Well, to talk about qualitative research, you have to understand it's a tool for making vivid moments and patterns in classrooms that are significant from an educational perspective. And what that means is that they may be significant in the subject matter field, but they may be significant as a general outcome of practice. In The Enlightened Eye, I tried to emphasize the importance of looking at the way the game is played. Consider baseball or basketball. If you are a basketball fan and you go out to watch a team play, and you watch it play, and you watch it win the game or lose the game, and the data that you get is crisp, precise. It'll tell you what the team did at its last game. But what it won't tell you is how the game was played. For that, you need to watch the game itself. Watching the game itself means not only watching the game, but it's watching the game with an eye towards understanding. some managers feel it's best to put in a left-hand pitcher when they have a particular kind of a batter. So attention in evaluation to classrooms are a necessary condition for knowing what needs attention and what does not, or what may not need it as much. That's what I was trying to get at there.
Okay. What advice might you offer to graduate students and beginning researchers who hope to make a contribution like you to educational research?
Think beyond the box. Think about what the possibilities are. Try things out without being frightened of making a mistake. Explore new possibilities. I'm working on a book now which deals with the letter W and what it means to put the letter W on a sheet of paper, and what it means when you put two letter W's on a paper, and 3 and 4 and 5. Each one of those changes the nature of the situation, because you're looking at the situation with new eyes. Now you may need to look at classrooms with new eyes in order to see what's significant but subtle. So that's what I mean about that.
Sure. You have written or edited 16 books and 285 articles on the topic of art education, curriculum studies, and qualitative research methods, most notably. You have received multiple awards, including the National Art Educator Award of the National Art Education Association, the Palmer O. Johnson Memorial Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award, and a Qualitative Research Award from AERA. The Manuel Barkin Memorial Award from the National Art Education Association, a John Simon Guggenheim Fellowship, the Brock International Prize in Education, and the Graumeyer Award for your book, The Arts and the Creation of Mind. You have received multiple service and teaching, lecture, and visiting scholar awards, including both Senior Fulbright and John Dewey Lecture Honors. You have received honorary degrees from the University of Oslo, Norway, Hofstra University, the Maryland Institute, Doane College, Nebraska, De Montfort University in England, and the Institute of London. You are a member of the National Academy of Education, a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts in the UK, and an elected member of the Royal Norwegian Society of Sciences and Letters. You were also named as one of the 50 modern thinkers on education, and most recently you were awarded the Distinguished Career Award by the John Dewey Society. This is to name just a few of your honors and awards that you have received throughout your career. Your friend and colleague Howard Gardner adds that you have had every conceivable honor that can be bestowed, from academies and institutions all over the world. But he would add that your greatest achievement has been the many colleagues and students whom you have influenced either directly through mentoring or arguing or inspiration, or indirectly through your writing and public addresses. You have brilliantly delivered numerous honorary speeches. Tom Barone, your former student, actually recalls your presidential speech at the annual meeting of AERA, stating it was powerfully composed, masterfully delivered. It employed artistic visuals to emphasize and teach many of your main ideas, and it was a sure sign that the foremost champion of a realm of human endeavor, severely marginalized at AERA, the arts, had taken the spotlight. It gave him goosebumps, and he also notes how many times you've given these addresses, and you continuously get standing ovations every time you speak, including recently at the most recent AERA conference. When you reflect on your overall career, where do you believe you have had the greatest impact?
I've had the greatest impact working with students as closely as possible. That's where I think the greatest impact is, working with students.
And what's next for you? What haven't you accomplished that you'd still like to achieve?
Well, the book that I'm working on now is a new ripple that is unusual and difficult, and which may turn out to be a flop, but I'm going to pursue it in any case.
Okay, taking risks still.
Taking risks.
Good. In terms of introspective questions, number 1, who do you believe has had the greatest impact on you and the person you are today?
My wife,
Oh,
Ellie.
that's lovely. What inspires you?
A beautiful piece of work, like a pot or a rug or a painting.
Wonderful. What do you find uninspiring?
Material that has no spirit, that has no new ground to break, that doesn't have a voice in which the cadences are a part of the message.
What is your favorite word?
Amarillo.
The place in Texas or the color yellow?
Shit is the next one.
Good. Your favorite curse word. You got right in front of me. Good on that one. What profession other than your own would you have liked to attempt?
Law.
Ah, lawyer. Okay. If you could have dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Alan Peshkin.
Mm.
Alan Peshkin.
Okay.
You know him?
Yes. Know of him.
Great guy. And he would be interested in Alan Peshkin.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Dinner's getting cold.
You're late. That's perfect. When asked to capture the essence and nature of Elliot Eisner, your wife, Ellie, defines you as a person who enjoys intellectual argument and discussion, and you highly value your relationships with people, family, friends, former students, co-workers, etc. There is a sense of pride and joy that you feel in others' accomplishments. Stephen Dobbs adds that on top of everything else, you raised a family, gave 24/7 access to your students, and developed sturdy friendships. He adds that you are a polymath, so it is inadequate to cite a single personal or professional achievement of yours. But words commonly expressed by your family and friends include words like brilliant, intellectually artistic, intense, indefatigable, iconoclastic, compelling, inspiring, aesthetic, perceptive, a wonderful friend, and a wonderful human being. Your former students also note what an amazing mentor you have been to them. Bruce Ermacher best summed up your scholarly accomplishments. He says, first, you have redefined what is important in art education. One cannot dismiss the arguments you have provided on its behalf. Second, you have reconceptualized research and made room for artistic endeavors to count as important scholarly inquiries, putting forward a convincing and defensible paradigm for educational research. Third, you have provided the arguments for employing forms of representation for the purposes of allowing students to come to know and understand the world, as well as to express that knowing through numerous forms of representation. And fourth, you have helped us question the purpose and form of schooling, and along the way pushed our thinking on issues pertaining to objectives, standards, creativity, imagination, educational reform, and aesthetic literacy, among other topics. According to Howard Gardner, our whole understanding of educational philosophy and educational practice would be diminished without the wit and wisdom of Elliot Eisner. Matt Theobald notes your ability to reconnect those engaged in education with their heart of hearts. You remind them why they became educators in the first place. Larry Cuban notes, too, your incredible ability to inspire and move a graduate school, a group of superintendents and principals, and large audiences. Your fluency in communicating ideas and emotions is well crafted, and things that matter in education is very impressive. Larry cannot count the times that he has seen groups rise to their feet and give you standing ovations. Bennett Reamer notes most your enormous breadth of intellect combined with your penetrating depth of insights, your truly impressive wisdom, your admirable humaneness, and your indefatigable contributions to our shared intellectual heritage. Your daughter, Linda, adds that your success was most simply due to the person who you are. Your enthusiasm combined with your warmth, humility, humor, and genuine support of others have impacted many within and beyond your family. And finally, your son, Steve, says that one of your greatest accomplishments is current in the way in which you continue to cope with the challenges of Parkinson's disease. Although each day becomes progressively difficult, you continue to meet each day with strength, perseverance, and an overwhelming level of determination. You are incessant in your fight. Last, Tom Barone once wrote of you in an essay, an excerpt I will read here in conclusion. With courage, civility, and earnest delight, Elliot Eisner guided the field of education in this fashion. Thanks to him, members of that field who had been moving along rather predictably were presented with a delightful surprise. Through the pedagogical efforts of Elliot Eisner, embodied in his writings, in his service activities, in his presentations at zillions of podia, in untold numbers of teachable moments, members of the educational profession were persuaded to see subject matter that they never expected to see, to experience chance intrusions about which they would soon begin to exercise judgment. Thanks to the pedagogy of Elliot Eisner, the field of education has acquired greater character. So many of its members, are now more fully alive because of you. Well, there is no doubt that you have vivificated, aroused, and galvanized all of us, raising up the profession of education in everything we know, and we think we know and understand about it. On behalf of all of us, future educationists, educational researchers, and the like, we thank you, Elliot Eisner, for everything you do, and for most simply just being you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.